From the BBC World Service, in association with ABC and Akashvani, this is Stumped.
Hello, I'm Nikesh Ragani and welcome to Stumped. I'm joined by Jim Maxwell for the ABC in Sydney and Jaru Sharma is in Delhi for Akashvani. Royal Challengers Bengaluru seamer Bhuvaneshwar Kumar became the first fast bowler to take 200 IPL wickets as he dismissed Chennai Super Kings batter Ayush Matre. He's only the second bowler to reach the milestone after leg spinner Yuzvendra Chahal, who passed the 200 IPL wickets mark in 2024. Jaru, what do you make of Bhuvaneshwar Kumar? His longevity is something we've spoken about. What do you make of him and his career so far?
Well, there's something else that I can begin speaking about, which may or may not have much to do with his bowling, but he is the nicest possible fast bowler in terms of behavior and personality that you can ever meet. I mean, he's truly a very nice guy with the least possible overt aggression. And yet, despite all of that, hasn't he been wonderfully destructive? Never the quickest. I think the best that he ever got to was the early 130s. But there is movement on call, both ways. And that's what makes him so dangerous, because he moves it just enough to get the nicks. And sometimes he has a habit of getting people, well, lulling people into a little more aggression and taking him a little less seriously. But he's lethal. He's a really nice guy. And it's remarkable, maybe because he has a very set kind of run-up, doesn't expend too much energy. I don't know whether I should even say this, but a little Jimmy Anderson-like, just very, very set. And because he's not the quickest, he has a wonderful action. He has been able to stay for so long. I'm truly happy for him because he's such a nice guy. So is Chahal, of course, that he's gotten all these wickets in the IPL. Equally effective at the top, as well as the death overs were, of course. At times he went for many, but it's a real tribute to his fitness, his longevity, his being a nice guy. I think I've said that enough times. And I'm particularly happy that he's the first fast bowler to get past 200 because he thoroughly deserves it for being there and just soldiering away, despite the fact that maybe he's not, he's not been given that much due. But getting past 200, I think people will finally notice, oh, he's still around and he's still lethal.
He is. And for me, I know we're talking about his IPL record here, but one of the underrated seamers, I think, of that Virat Kohli test captaincy era for India, where he was so useful, particularly in English conditions. And, even in Australia, he had some good performances along with the likes of Ishant Sharma, Umesh Yadav, and then later Jasprit Bumrah, Mohammad Shami, and the rest of them. But in terms of being a pace bowler in the subcontinent, particularly a swing bowler, somebody who relies on his swing rather than his pace, he doesn't bowl sort of searing, reverse swinging Yorkers at 90 miles an hour. It's even more staggering that a bowler of his caliber, I guess, on spin-friendly pitches has got this kind of record in the IPL.
Well, the reason could well be what you've mentioned, because he does use atmospheric conditions. He's a swing bowler and doesn't quite, worry about the pitch so much. And he always keeps the batsman guessing because it's a great skill to be able to swing it both ways and just enough. Subtle swing, not the big banana swings as well. And which is why he's done so well. I'm afraid I think people tend to just be more impressed by speed on more occasions than not. Oh, is he really quick bowler? 150, 155. But Bhuvaneshwar was never there. And he said, I'm going to trick batsmen with my movement in the air. And which is why, even on these very spin-friendly wickets in India or the subcontinent, he's done consistently well because of the swing factor, not so much speed and movement off the pitch or perhaps changes in lengths. He's been very much a length bowler who always makes you wonder, should I go forward or back? What do I do? And by then, it's a little too late. And that's why I suppose he's lasted so long as well, because it's not been back-breaking work for him bowling on pitches that are spin-friendly. He just says, all right, if the atmospherics are nice, if there's a little bit of cloud, I'll get my movement, I'll get my man. But Nikesh, I also have to ask you, in days of white ball cricket, particularly T20, maybe they're still somewhat relevant in one-day internationals, are fast bowlers as effective as sometimes spinners tend to be? Because the spinners control the middle overs almost always. What is the relevance of fast bowlers now? Is there any reduction there?
Well, if you look at the way Vaibhav Suryavanshi treated Jasprit Bumrah the other night in the IPL, even the great ones can be taken for some runs, can't they? Such as the batting and the sort of explosive nature of T20 batting these days, with the fearless youth coming in and playing in competitions like the IPL. But of course, if you are a highly skilled fast bowler, if you've got those variations where you can use those conditions, particularly in India where the spinners are so effective, as you say, in those middle overs, somebody like a Bumrah who's got an amazing off cutter, actually grips in the surface, sort of, fools batters, doesn't have much of a change in action. Those kind of variations, very key. And I think we're seeing more and more of them from the top fast bowlers in the world. But I think gone are the days where you could have somebody like an Anrich Nortje or a Lockie Ferguson with that extreme pace, just putting fear into batters simply because of the extra pace that they possess, because batters nowadays are facing this in the nets. They're facing this from bowling machines, from the dog throwers, and they're used to that kind of pace. So it's about the variations. And I think fast bowling has changed, but I still think it's got definitely a role to play in T20 cricket. As we saw in the World Cup, the best ones rose to the top, and the likes of Bumrah had a wonderful tournament in that T20 World Cup.
We're used to seeing ancients bowling for Australia. Look at our mob, Cummins, Hazelwood, Stark. Boland's the oldest of the lot of them. So is Kumar going to get a run again for the Indian side?
Unfortunately not. He's been out of the system for quite a while now. And there are quite a few lining up who are not getting a place in the team as well. I mean, there's a lot of talk all of a sudden about Mohammad Shami because he started out the IPL really well. But whether it's white ball or red ball, I suspect he's too far back in the queue now. And once you lose your place, I think Australia, of course, may do it differently. But I think there's always more relevance to the youngsters, 20, 22, 24. If you're somewhere there and bowling quick, and of course being effective, I think you get moved up in the line. So much as he's still doing very well in the IPL, and we've got to congratulate him on the 200 wickets, and he still looks good for it because he seems to be fit, I think he's too far behind in the line, sadly. Also, these days, one's expecting runs from everybody. Now, Bhuvaneshwar is no mug with the bat, but he's not quite in the bowling all-rounder category. So that too tends to work against you, sadly. So I'm afraid his playing days for India, and this is only my opinion, by the way, I think are over. But I think he wouldn't mind. He's had a good run, a nice run. He's done well for himself. He's still playing in the IPL. He's still somewhat relevant. And I think he too would have realized that there's no point talking about, when am I going to make a comeback? And, typically you start sort of making noises to the selectors about, is somebody noticing what I'm doing? I think it's beyond all of that.
Well, certainly we've got to congratulate him on that milestone and certainly his longevity, as we say. And talking of longevity, we're going to continue on that theme because over the Easter weekend, James Anderson reached a rare feat as he dismissed James Sales in England's County Championship 21 years on from dismissing his father, David Sales, both of Northants. I'm not sure if that has been done before, a bowler dismissing a father and a son in first-class cricket. But, another record for Jimmy Anderson. And he just continues to astound everyone, doesn't he?
He does. You wonder, given the conditions that are around here and there in county cricket, how successful he will be from now till the rest of the season. His team certainly needs it. So that's fascinating to see a combination of his hunger, his resilience, his fitness, and ability still to get good players out. So it's absolutely remarkable. I mean, obviously it was something we saw a lot of going back 80 or 90 years, particularly spin bowling and Rhodes playing for all those years as a left-arm spinner. I'm sure he got three generations out in one family. But fast bowlers, no, it's pretty rare. You got to go back to Shackleton and Les Jackson. They were pushing 40 when they made their test debuts, but you got to admire it. And it's certainly doing well for Lancashire. So let's see how long it can go. He's got the enthusiasm and he's still got the ability, as we saw the other day when he took FIFA, to do what he does so well.
Didn't I read somewhere, Nikesh, recently that he is not particularly pleased with franchise cricket, and his little stint in the 102 left him underwhelmed? He's obviously still doing very well in red ball cricket, but does he feel that white ball cricket has sort of passed him by? Because it's actually a lot less work, people might say, in terms of 4 overs or 10. But he seems to not be too fond of franchise cricket and or white ball cricket anymore.
Well, he did put himself forward, but pretty much every franchise tournament available to him last year, and obviously got picked up in the 100 eventually. He did play white ball cricket for Lancashire in the T20 Blast, the domestic T20 competition, and did pretty well. He captained the side in that particular competition. I think he still enjoys it. I guess, look, when you're putting yourself forward for tournaments like the IPL, when you're into your 40s as a fast bowler, teams are going to perhaps look the other way and say, well, look, we'll focus more on the younger players. But I think there still is a desire just for Jimmy Anderson to play any sort of cricket. And you're right, T20 cricket, franchise cricket, there's less workload, 4 overs, and you're done. And, if you play in tournaments where you have an impact sub rule, then you literally probably don't have to field for the rest of the time once your bowling spell is over as well. So there are those things. And I think, look, he just enjoys stepping onto the field, wearing his Lancashire shirt or, playing in the 100, whichever team he's representing. He just wants to get out there and enjoy himself. And Jim, I was going to ask you about his longevity and the key behind it. What do you think is, the reason why he's able to go on so long? Is it just he might be one of those cricketers who just finds it very difficult to step away from the game? What will he do next? Cricket is all he's known his adult life.
I think he spends so much of his life being away from home. He's probably got to the stage where his children are teenagers and they don't need him anymore. So why not go out and do something? He's just so conditioned to being out and away, playing cricket, being involved in the game, and whatever it might be. He can't get out of the habit. I can understand that, but the fact that he's been able to keep himself in such good condition, I mean, that really is remarkable, that he, unlike a lot of fast bowlers, hasn't been worn down by playing so much and then getting injured. If he gets injured, it's no more than a toenail or something. He never seems to have a serious injury. And he just wants, he's one of those people who just wants to keep playing while he can.
Next on Stumped, the county championship season in England is underway and the weather has held up pretty well so far, meaning we've had plenty of decent action. Essex got their campaign off to a winning start as they beat Hampshire by an innings and 137 runs. So what can we expect for the rest of the season? Well, I'm delighted to say that we're joined by South Africa and Essex all-rounder Wyan Mulder. Wyan, welcome to Stumped and congratulations on your win over Hampshire. How do you reflect on that?
Yeah, thank you very much for having me. It was a great game for us as a team. I think a lot of guys put up their hand in this last game, and it was a good way to start our campaign. We've got a couple of senior players who stood up in the first game, and hopefully they can do that for the rest of the campaign.
Still strange for me, in particular, to see you in an Essex shirt and your Essex colours, having watched you at Leicestershire over a couple of years. How much do you enjoy the county circuit in England? You've obviously been at Kent as well.
Yeah, absolutely love it. I think it's been so good for my game over the last couple of years to be playing county cricket. You play obviously extremely competitive cricket week in, week out. The people in England are really accommodating and they make me feel like I'm at home. So it's a place that I, in many ways, do call my home and love to come back and play as much as I can.
Often players coming in from abroad talk about the grind of county cricket and how sort of challenging it is compared to their domestic competitions. For you, what is the most challenging thing about coming to play over in England when you perhaps compare it back to South Africa?
I think there's quite a lot of different aspects you can look at. For me, the biggest thing is the ball. It feels so different bowling with the Duke to the Kookaburra. The wickets are different. They generally on a touch slower side, so your lines and lengths have to be a lot more accurate, I'd say, closer to off stump. So they really test your skill level when you come to England. And then, generally county bowlers are kind of made for England. They generally bowl a touch slower, but find a way to hit your front pad, get you playing on the front foot a lot more consistently. So you have to find a way to adapt and consistently try and one up. And then the weather plays a big role. That first game in Southampton was so cold for me. I don't think I've played a game in that weather before. So
yeah, that can often be a thing in county cricket. In early part of the season, the weather can certainly be challenging. The quality of the championship has also been spoken about over the last few years and the standards when compared with other competitions around the world. And just before the start of the county championship season, former Aussie player and current coach of Northamptonshire, Darren Lehman, said England players don't play enough county cricket. What do you make of that?
Yeah, I think there's, I guess, a little bit of truth in that. If you have read quite a bit of the stuff recently, they speak about the disconnect between county cricket and the national team. And I think if you're not playing county cricket, I don't know if you have any way to improve on your game as an England local. I think there's definitely a bit of a disconnect, and I think it's important to play. I know back home they really force us to play as much domestic cricket as you can. We don't play nearly as much cricket as guys in England do. So I just think there's a much better chance to get better if you're playing rather than just training all the time. But there is space where you need to make time to actually try and progress your game and grow. And that's where I think practice plays an important role. But in the end, you've got to play. That's where the results are.
As a South African cricketer, do you feel you're missing out by not playing more Test cricket, and what can be done?
I mean, Test cricket is the pinnacle of the game for me, to be honest. I think that's where everything is tested consistently. So of course we all want to play more Test cricket. I think it's difficult with the current schedule to fit in more Test matches. I think the T20 tournaments take preference to a lot of international cricket if you're not in the big three or so, I'd say. I know South Africa is pushing hard, and now that we've won the WTC, I think a lot more of the big boys want to play against us as South African. So we will have more tests coming up, but I think that's just the nature of how the schedule works. Going forward, I would like to see us playing more Test cricket. I do think that is where you test it at the pinnacle of the game, but it's difficult to compensate the money people make in T20 leagues for Test cricket. That's just the facts of it.
Can I just ask you that number, 367? If you ever get to 367 again in a Test match, you're going to keep batting?
Sure, James. Yeah, there's a lot more to the declaration than it seems. So who knows what will happen if I am privileged enough, blessed enough to ever get there again. Who knows what will happen, but I think the right decision was made.
If it's against Australia, I reckon you'll keep batting.
If it's against Australia, hopefully I get 700.
To white ball cricket and the whole impact sub rule. Now, you're an all-rounder yourself. And finally, some of the Indian players in the IPL have started some murmurings about the fact that they're not too happy with that impact sub rule. Is it really potentially so dangerous for all-rounders because it's just not going to inspire youngsters to become all-rounders? Your thoughts?
Yeah, I think most definitely. Last year I spent a little bit of time at the Sunrisers, and I was impact sub every single game as a batter or a bowler. To be honest, I think it's quite bizarre to play cricket like that, where you don't really know what your role is. You don't really know what situation you're going to find yourself in the game in. It's literally got to do with circumstances most often, and then when you have a incredible impact sub like Finn Allen or someone like that, it's quite obvious. So then it's just the list, and I think it skews the game a little bit. If you look how many 200 plus scores there's been already in the IPL, it's like teams bat until number 10, and people can strike at 200 at number 10. So it's like I think it's changed the flow of the game. Definitely, it's taken me out the game completely. Someone who bats in the middle and bowls, it's taken me out the game. And I think if you look at someone like Cam Green, who knows what it's going to look like for him going forward. The only one that seems to make it work is Hardik Pandya. And he plays no matter what because he's a batter, arguably one of the best batters and arguably one of the best bowlers. So I would like to see it go personally. I think the best for the game is to have your 11 players in strength versus strength and see what happens. But I mean, there's a reason they did it at the IPL, and there's no reason it can't change or hang around.
Well, thank you very much for your time here on Stumped, and best of luck for the rest of the season.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
That's all we've got time for on Stumped this week. Thanks very much for listening, and goodbye.